So, where do we begin, bro? Because there's a lot. Like, first, just reading this. While
Oh
I was
yeah.
reading this, holy shit. It was literally. I have sticky notes. I never do sticky notes. Ever. I never do sticky notes. As I was reading it, I was like, nah, I need sticky notes right now. It was like the first few pages, and then emotional damage. I was like, you know what? Close the book up. I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna come back and finish it later. Cause I was like, yeah, okay, we good, we Gucci, and I gotta go. Like it's like because I know you have two right now. You have three. You have Be- Bessinger, Note,
Procedure.
and
Infinity Love.
Infinity Love that like just came out.
hmm
Um, so like kind of take me through the like little thought process between each of them.
Okay. So it started with Note. All of it starts with Note. Actually, technically, it all starts with Infinity Love, but we'll start with Note because Note started and like in the summer of 2020 when there was this Shonen Jump contest. You know Shonen Jump.
Yeah,
Um,
I
like
I literally
Dragon
have
Ball
like a
Z.
small Shonen Jump collection behind me.
There we go. And so like the magazine was having like an international online competition.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, "Oh, you know, I want to join because it had like all the greats reading it, the author of Dragon Ball, author of One Piece, Yu Yu Hakusho. They were all reading your stuff if
Damn.
you got like far enough." So I was like, "Oh man." So before I even started Note, I was working on Infinity Love. I was like, "Oh, this is going to be my first actual manga I'm going to make." But I had gotten really deep into it and the rules for the competition didn't fit what the book was.
Mm.
And so that was like the biggest issue because then I was like, oh, I have to make a new story. So then that's how Note came up. Note came up from like a little idea. If you look in the back of Note, there's like a little section that talks about like a character design I had, and I took that, the idea of money, and then I just ran with a short story, and I made that book. The thing was, at the same time, I had written Besieger, and I thought I was like super Saiyan God over here. I thought I was gonna make two books in 4 months, but that did not happen. So I had to pick one. So I picked No, and then afterwards I was like, oh, let me finish Besieger because I wrote it. It was ready to go. Let me just actually draw it out. And so I did do that afterwards, and then that brings us to Infinity Love, which now I'm at the cusp end of just finishing up like a little bit of it, and that's gonna be my first ever series.
Okay. All right. Um, that I actually didn't know. So we went backwards to go forward. I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Um, but it's hold on. I have to find one of my little sticky notes right here. Oh, I love your author notes in here too, where you like have the entire like character design. I don't want to bend the book too much, but like it's the first one when you're showing like the gods and whatnot, like Zeus,
Uh,
Poseidon, Hades, and they're like author's note. I'm like, you know what? I like that right in between like important moments as we're getting to know these characters. So it's like, who are these people? Like, why are they important? Oh,
yeah.
okay, this makes more sense now. Um,
hmm
and it's
Yeah.
it's very well thought out, which is something I enjoy because I hate a story that's just thrown at you. Like
hmm
with all the books I've read, excuse my girlfriend's pink chair in my room, but
And now
basically
you're
just
good.
just before the chair to
hmm
the wall is almost entirely filled with manga, and for the most part, the stories are like thought out or they're like drawn out or expanded upon in their later issues, where like
hmm
some stories they don't last in that like one volume,
hmm
shall we say. And that's something that like I truly enjoyed. It's like this is a great story. There could always be more to it. I don't know if there's more to it. Is there more to it?
I mean, like, if you get, wait, did you finish it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
There's
I
like,
finished it before I sent you the message. Be like, hey, sorry, I've been a little busy.
yeah,
Uh,
no, there is a little bit at the tail end that like says there might be more in the future, and I do have plans. Like, already have the Seizure 2 written in my head. Like it's once I'm ready and in that mind space, I have like a second part that's gonna expand more on the characters of Bat and Pix. They have like each their own stories and they'll have their own arcs. So there's like some ideas like for Bat, I want him to be the next part of the story because he's actually one of my favorite characters.
Really?
I enjoy drawing him the most. Yeah.
Is Bat like the English looking dude with the suit?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, have you ever played the game Borderlands?
No, I haven't.
No. Okay. Have you seen or heard of the anime Black Butler?
Yes.
Okay, Sebastian. While I saw that, I was thinking of Sebastian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I needed. I'm like, you know what? I can hear Sebastian as I'm reading this. Me gusto.
He's like Sebastian, but like maybe a little bit more happier.
Oh yeah. But it's like your designs, your everything. I love it. I would ask the guys to like hop in on this, but they're busy. I'm not gonna bother them right now.
No worries.
But yes, when there's more, I'm expect to be like, hey, I'm dropping this one. Okay. So, Love Infinity. Could we get a quick synopsis of it?
Yeah. So basically, Infinity Love starts on this day called Blossom Day or the Blossom Festival, where you have to pick one person to be in love with for the rest of your life. And if you do not choose someone or cannot find someone, you will be turned into a monster, basically. Yeah. So there are two main characters. One is Heart, who believes in all of the love in the world, but no one loves him. And then there's Lily, who doesn't believe in any of the love in the world, but everyone loves her, but not for who she is. So the two of them get intertwined, and they find this object called the Infinity Love. It's the one object that one couple gets to show the world true love, and all of the love is encapsulated in it. However, tragedy strikes when the villains come and the Infinity Love is destroyed. So Heart and Lily have 1 year to figure out what's going on so they can save everyone from that before everyone dies, because if there's no love in the world, everyone will die. It's like the long and short of it.
Damn.
Yeah.
You say, hey, love conquers all, but like you have a year, and I'm like, okay, Dragon Ball GT, I see you loud and clear. You have 1 year. Okay, all right. So
basically they have to find these maidens, and each maiden has like a different part of the Infinity Love that they have to capture from them so that they can finish the ceremony. So it's not all lost. They just have to figure it out, and both of them are not in the best place to be a couple.
I like it. Very much Dragon Ball GT vibes. I'm not mad at you for it because I love GT. I think GT is like the best part of the whole Dragon Ball franchise. Why? It's less than 100 episodes, and at the end of it, Goku dies. Moving on. So, could you walk me through the moment where you're like, you know what, I'm gonna make my own manga? Was it the Shonen Jump, or like while you were creating Infinity Love, or was it like before that?
Oh, it's been way before that. Like, I've always wanted to make manga. It's been my dream ever since I picked up my first American Shonen Jump at Blockbuster and read Naruto. So it's like, I mean, even before
Blockbuster. Damn, we are old.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, it even actually starts even before that. Like, I used to make like these like little strip comics. I would draw them on like, printer paper, and one thing would happen on one page, and I would just make my own little comics from there, and then it slowly evolved. But I always wanted to make my own stories, and it's always been like a dream of mine to just, draw stuff like the stuff I used to watch on Toonami and TV. That those are the things that really inspire me. The Dragon Balls, Yu Yu Hakusho, I mean, even all the new stuff now, My Hero Academia, Jujutsu Kaisen, Pokemon, like your Ash Ketchum hat.
Don't get me started on Jujutsu Kaisen.
Oh,
I'm so obviously in like the otaku outsiders, like I'm the more like heavily like I'm always watching something,
hmm
because I like to be caught up on like what's happening. It's like I love how this has been influenced, yada yada, and then we talk about it later. Um, but at my local gym, I am the anime nerd. I'm him. I am him, James, because like people started seeing me in just like anime fits, and they're like, "Why are you working out an anime fit?" And then like there I am, I'm bench pressing like more than everyone else. They're like, "I need to talk to him because he's doing
the
something
cursed spirit
different."
energy.
And so like so yeah, so like now everyone just like they come and they talk to me, they ask me, they like, "Yo, did you see the latest episode?" I'm like, "No, but I read it, so I know what happens." Like you can't,
Ah,
there's nothing you can tell me. I think I'm on volume
22?
21, 21.
Oh,
But I've
God.
read, like I started reading it online because
Oh, you know more. Oh, don't talk. You can't talk. This conversation's over. Sorry. I
no
gotta
no
go.
no 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 I'm the as long as you're in the culling games, we're good because like
Oh, yeah.
I'm just like trying to like get out of that into like what becomes and what everyone's talking about now. Um,
Yeah.
but that's a conversation for another time. If you ever want to hop in, be like, "Hey fam, I would love to talk about this." Be like, "Yeah, just shoot me up." Happily, we'll be like, "Yeah, like we can accommodate
Yeah.
whatever." Um, so I'm actually looking at like kind of like your, I'll call them your short stories.
Ah,
Voodoo,
okay. Yeah.
Dest.
Oh, my God.
Oh yeah. I went through it. I went through it.
Oh, my God. Some old
DDR,
stuff. Uh-huh.
Wild Gears, and the Flame. So I'm not gonna lie. You can see a slight difference, and you can also see like some references from your earlier work in your most recent work, which is great.
Yeah. hmm
So to like walk me through like what because I know some of these are done. I made a quick list. So Voodoo's done. Best said
Yeah.
Death said to be continued. DDR is done. Wild Gears to be continued, and the Flame is done. Don't ask me if I read them
Yeah.
because I didn't read them, but I do know that much.
Okay.
So will
So,
you ever like go back right and continue these stories?
so I know this is one of the questions that are going to come up later, but the answer is yes and no to some of them. So if it's finished, most likely not,
Okay.
except for Voodoo. Voodoo was like my first ever real shot at making a manga. I don't even remember when I made it. It was like 2012. It
I'll tell
was
you
so
when
long ago.
2011.
2011. There we go. It's so long ago. It's like one of the first things I made it for some like online contest,
Mm.
and basically Voodoo and Dest, um, which I renamed Dest to Fate. It's part of this whole, like how Kevin Feige has like the phases.
Mm.
I have my own phases. So like
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now we're
we're
like,
gonna talk about that in a second. Don't worry.
yeah, yeah. So basically that these are in different phases that will come out once I get into the proper practice of making manga, like get through the whole flow. That's why like No Seizure, Infinity Love, they're all stepping stones to get to telling those stories the way I want to. We'll talk more about that later, but um The Flame, that was a story that I made. It's not really a story. I mean, it is a story and it isn't, but it was for Inktober. So for Inktober, they had prompts. So each
Mm-hmm.
day you draw something associated with a word. So I
Mm.
tried to string along a story based off of what those prompts were.
Mm.
So to make like something that was cohesive. So each day would be like something different and try to like get the arc of a story to that.
That's why it says day 12, day 17. I'm like, what the hell? Why are you saying days, whatever? Like, this doesn't. But now it makes sense. When you bring it about that way, it does make
Yeah,
a
like I need
lot
to
more
put it back
sense.
on my Instagram because it had the words to it because like there were words that went with the story. Some of the pictures on the website are there, but for some reason some of them don't pick up, so you won't get the full story. Um, But that was the idea behind that one. Like if you click any one of the photos, there should be like a little text.
I'll tell you day 4, day 12, 17, 18,
Mhm.
and 31. Those are like the only 4 or 5 that have things on it.
Yeah. So that was the idea behind that one. It
Good
was
thing I brought it up.
yeah. It was a fun little experiment that I did it. I just wanted to like draw a lot more, and I thought it would be a fun way to draw and also practice like storytelling at the same time because it made you have to be adaptive, try and push the story along while also trying to figure out um what was going on with each word or each part of the story. Wild Gears. So a long time ago, as a kid, maybe some other kids have done this, make their own version of Pokemon. And so I had made like I think this thing called like Wild Mons, hilarious.
I
Um
see it.
and so Wild Gears was just like a sort of evolution, maybe like think about maybe Digimon season 3 or something where like you fuse a little bit with the Digimon. Um that was the concept behind that. It was like a little short story that I made for college. And then the same thing with DDR. DDR is just something I play. Like that's like my thing. That's like I've been playing that for like 10 plus years now.
Okay.
Um and so that's like basically an autobiographical story of like an event that did actually happen while I played the game. And so I thought it was really cool. That's one thing I definitely want to make in the future. Like I want to make a DDR manga and a ping pong manga. Those are like my two favorite things.
I'm sorry. Did you say ping pong like the sport?
Yeah. Mm.
I see you, Haikyuu. I see you. I see you,
Like
Haikyuu.
Kuroko no Basket is my favorite anime. That's one of my.
I was gonna say that
favorite.
one, but I forgot the name. I was like, I know there's a basketball. There's what is it? There's basketball. There's rugby. There should be a
There's
soccer one.
Oh, of course, it's too many soccer ones, too many baseball ones too.
Yeah, and I'm like, there's
But
some
Blue
boxing
Lock,
ones too. Oh my god,
you should watch Blue Lock.
I have,
Watch Blue Lock.
I have. It's
Blue.
it's wild. Like it's never. So like I'm Latino, first generation. My family born in the States, and when I tell you, whenever I see like a good story, like there's in America, we don't hear about soccer. Soccer is very much like a side thing, unless it's a women's World Cup, because 90% of the time they win, unless except for this past one that they lost. But like for the past like what 20-ish years, the women's team has been getting further than the men either way, and that's the only time that like you hear about soccer or the World Cup. And I hear it almost every day. Why? Because there's so like each country has like obviously their team, their leagues. You have the minor and the majors, but now think every Latin American country, and then Europe as well. But Europe, because it's technically so small in comparison to like the country, like all the little countries inside, they just have like east and west basically. They have from here over, from there over, and then they're like this is a championship league of the entire country. Continent, and it's always happening. It's always going on. So I'm always hearing about it because we also like subscribe to the like the Brazilian channel, so we know what's happening like via the news, sports, TV shows. Like we know what's happening now. Anyways, past like 5 years, my grandma's like, I just want to know what's happening in Brazil. I'm like, okay, but like, don't stay caught up with the news. Like, go outside and smell the roses. I mean, there's snow outside, but like, go outside and smell the roses, please.
Yeah. And it was crazy.
So
with Blue Lock because like Blue Lock was airing when the World Cup was happening, so and Japan was winning while Blue Lock was happening, and I just can't believe it. Like, it was such a moment that was just like it'll probably never happen again like that. Because like it'd have to be another 4 years, but like for just one moment, like anime and the real world were like blending into each other. Because I remember everybody was going crazy because they're like, "Oh my god, the Blue Lock is real," because they were winning. I wish I lived in the timeline where Japan just won the World Cup and Blue Lock was airing. I wonder what world that looks like. Must be crazy.
Hey,
like
they
probably
take
impossible.
forever to animate one season, so who knows? Maybe the next World Cup, you never know.
I
Um,
know.
it's like that's like just a little sidebar right here. So I watch way too much, way too much. It is. I have to read to give myself palate cleansers from all the shit I watch. Like I have 10 books. I haven't read them yet.
Mhm.
Like I literally have 10 different mangas that I haven't read yet. Just like get caught up, and I just watch way too much. So let me just tell you what I watched within the past like 2-3 days. Right, if my phone wants to unlock for me, the faster the better. So I watched. Uh, are you into Doctor Who?
No, I have not seen Doctor Who. I know
Okay,
a lot of people like it.
okay. So it's kind of like a Grey's Anatomy setup, right? It's a almost hour long episode.
Hmm.
Um, there is a somewhat revolving cast. The only
I
thing
know
that
there's different
stays,
Doctor Who's.
yeah. So
That's all
the anytime the main lead wants to leave, they regenerate, and that's how they bring in fresh face. And then like the season after that, their
I know.
first season, they introduce a new cast of people that are their companions that go with them on these adventures. Um,
Uh,
so that's like the only person you'll see have like the shortest tenure is Christopher Eccleston. Again,
mhm.
like on the sidebar thing. He only did one season. That's because like he hated the showrunner Russell T Davis, which for whatever
Mm.
reason I don't care. After that, it goes David Tennant, Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi, Jodie Whittaker, and back to David Tennant to then go to Shuti Gatwa, which I'm not caught up yet, but I watched
Mhm.
10 episodes within the past 2 days, hour-long episodes. Here I am, I'm streaming while I'm listening to them, having my phone like down here. I'm like, I gotta catch up. I can't. These are hour-long episodes. I watched Eminence in the Shadow seasons 1 and 2. I what was the other show I'm catching up on? Oh, Harley Quinn. I'm also catching up on. I watched almost all of season 1 past couple days. Yeah, no, hard. That's a wild show. Wild show. References, cameos, story. It is absolutely wild. Um,
Interesting. Okay.
it's good,
Mhm.
but like after I finish season 1, I have to go back into Doctor Who because if I watch all of Harley Quinn, I'm gonna go insane. I will absolutely go insane. I can't. I can't. Oh, Sweet Reincarnation is one I've been watching. It's an isekai. But
Okay.
instead of like the dude being like whatever he is, he was a patissier, a pastry chef,
Oh, okay.
and he was like in this competition, like Iron Chef or whatever it is,
Mhm.
and he like his creation was so heavy, he lost his grip. It fell on him. He died. I know,
Okay.
kind of stupid, but then he gets reincarnated, and in this world, there's like no sugars, no nothing, kind of,
Uh-huh.
and so then he just like, oh, I'm gonna be the best there is. I was like, excuse me, and then he's just like, because he's like a 30-something-year-old man in a 7-year-old body, he's the smartest one around. I'm like, damn,
Oh, interesting. Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah, it's oh, yeah. Well, what's his last one? My Isekai Life. Dude gets isekai'd and basically like becomes a god. He controls slimes, then has like all these like magical abilities. I'm like, yo, what is this? Why? Okay, okay, Expectum Patronus and shit. Okay, I see you. I see you. Literally, it's like cast fireball. I'm like, so your wand is all the screens that pop up while you're touching it, Mister Iron Man. Okay, I see you.
That's interesting. That's a lot of isekai. I don't even think the closest thing maybe I've watched to isekai is like Sword Art. I don't even know if that counts.
Sword Art,
Um,
technically not really. Kind of. It's
it's like
it'd be more like VR. Like
mm,
Gundam is considered mecha. Like some people
yeah.
consider Attack on Titan mecha.
That's a stretch. The meat
It's
mechas that's a stretch. It's a stretch.
You've had this
We stretch.
conversation before.
I just know people have talked about the meat mechas. I'm just saying it's a stretch.
It's a normal ass dude piloting a big ass dude.
Yes. Okay. Sure. You know what? I'll concede it. I have no dog in this fight. It's a meat mecca.
I almost have no dog in the fight too. I just like saying it just to like get some people like riled up. They're like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Think about it. Think about it real quickly with me. Small dude, big machine, pilot, big machine. Small dude and big dude, pilot, the big dude. It's simplicity, fam. We trying to make things simple over here for people to understand.
Hmm.
Speaking of getting people to understand, I see that you have like some videos like explaining, oh, how to draw, how to make your thing work, how like your story writing.
Hmm.
I don't normally see that from like artists, from like artists at all. Let them be um, like actual normal artists or like book artists, manga artists. Um,
Mm.
why?
Uh, because I want to read good stuff. I want
Mm.
everyone to make better stuff. So
Say that shit
if I can,
again. Say what shit. I like that one.
yeah,
Oh God.
I want to read good stuff. So I want to help people get to that point faster, get to the point where they can tell their story better in a way that is interesting. So I don't have to read a lot of the things that I tend to read from, I guess I want to say like more amateur people who are just starting out. And so a lot of pitfalls they might make is they'll do too much explanation or spend too much time telling me about things that don't matter. I want you to get to the point a lot faster, but also get me hooked and interested more faster because some of the ideas would be great, but it takes me too long to get there. And by the time I get there, I'm bored. And it's like
Mm.
I want you to get rid of all that other excess and to the point where it's like, all right, we're here. This is good. This is great. And I understand also why people get stuck in that space because it's like your baby. Like you love it. You want to explain it to me in every little detail to the little like tiny nail that goes into the wood of the house of whatever you're explaining. And it's great. But as someone who doesn't love it as much as you, and it's impossible, like I tell this to everyone, no matter like as much as people love like my stories and books, like there's only like until someone starts making like theory crafting videos about things I never said, like I feel like there's a threshold that comes to where like you, the person who's making it, you love it so much, especially the people who spend like years like just developing just their world. And we're not even talking about the characters before they even start putting something on paper. Like that just shows like a amount of love that is just like insane. And so the reason why I have the channel is like I want to like help give some type of systematic procedure. Like I don't make those videos as their law, but they're
Mm.
just more like a guide,
Yeah, yeah.
so that like you yourself can be like, all right, oh maybe I can use this tip to help me get a little bit faster in my storytelling, or maybe I can think about this when I'm writing my manga, or whatever it is. But the real goal of the channel is just to make you make something. Like I want you to make something now because the other problem that'll happen is a lot of times the ideas will just stay in your head.
Mm.
Like they won't even get to the paper because you're so interested in perfecting them. That's why I talked about it earlier. Why I have the phases and why I have these books is to get through the process of making so I can get to the point where I'm making the things that are like my babies, are my children that I love, and they're at a level that I think that they should be at. And I think that's also what holds people back too, is the feeling of perfection, wanting it to be perfect when they release it because they're like, oh, if I release it now, it's not great. Honestly, you should just release it now and it will get better with time
Mm-hmm.
versus like trying to start at 100. Whereas when you can start at 10 and go to 100, like for example, if you look at like Bleach, the manga, and we're not going to talk about the story,
No,
the
yeah.
whole, but like artistic thing, maybe you could even talk a story, but like how it looked in the beginning and how it finished.
Are
Well,
they're two
how it
different.
finished
It's like
looking.
minor versus major league. Like you can see the progression. Well, you can't really see it over time, but when you look at it dramatically from beginning to end, you're like, oh shit, there is a difference. You have
Yeah,
grown, and
yeah,
that's something like with all the books and all the stories I've read. It's like, oh shit, like you can see the progression of the story. You can not the story of of the drawings is that you can see, okay, here was like really rough, really choppy, but over here it starts getting refined, starts getting better because you you're not practicing, but like you're putting it together and it becomes more natural to you. And I'm getting what you're saying. It's like, I want you to make this more natural. I want you to make this more coherent, because I've read many stories that they ain't shit, or they just have a great premise, but they fizzle out so quickly, and then they don't know what to do, so they just end the story. Hell, I have like probably 30 books that are in my basement right now that, like, volume 1, I was like, yo, let's go, let's get it. What's it called? It's I'm Not Meat, right? So this dude is like, has PTSD with women, and he views women like they're an animal on Animal Planet, right? So it's like, dude, Steve Irwin, rest in peace to the king, the legend, Steve Irwin's the man. 20 years later, we're still talking about him. So he's like, he's seeing this woman, and like the way how she like gets close to him, like to flirt with him or to like have her way with him, for her, whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, this is like whatever viper, like, they're quiet, but when they get you, and I'm like, but like the imagery changes so beautifully. Like he sees the woman, but then like his mind goes somewhere, and then it changes so beautifully. I'm like, this is wild. Let's go. Second volume, chapter like 8. He's like, you know what? Maybe I want to find love. I'm like, you gotta be. I was ready to go on this like One Piece journey with you, going and seeing every animal in the Animal Planet, and that's what I thought the premise was. It's like, I didn't think chapter 7 I'd be getting the I want love, instead of like, I want to see I want to see that PTSD just a little bit more. You could, in volume 3, volume 4, you could have said, oh, like, I want love, finish it 2 volumes later. I would have been fine, but to 3 volumes, I felt like a smack in the face.
And I think it also just speaks to like the speed at which like a lot of series are going nowadays. Like a lot of them tend to be a little bit shorter. Like I don't think in our lifetime, and I don't know if this is true, I'll say it anyways, but like I don't think we're ever gonna get like another long like Naruto, Dragon Ball running series as much. And I don't know if that is to our benefit or dismay, but it depends in certain areas. I think sometimes pacing can be affected, but then it also does leave less room, or allows more room for people to actually finish the series. Because, like, for example, people with One Piece is like an outlier, but people with One Piece are like, oh, I'll never watch One Piece because it's 1 million episodes or whatever. Versus, like, maybe they could get through, I don't know, Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer is like, what, 23 volumes? It's kind of digestible. It's not that long in comparison. So a lot more, it's easier for you to say, like, hey, I finished the series. I could read the series. I could pick up 23 books or 20 books. I mean, hell, Chainsaw Man, even though it just came back, like, technically finished at 12, or is it like 11 volumes?
Part 1 finished at 11. Part 2 starts at volume 12.
But see, like, you can finish it and then move on to the next one. Whereas, like, maybe Naruto's like 53 volumes or something.
It's 700 chapters flat.
Yeah, so it's like, it's very long. And that's not to say that, like, maybe we might not, but I see the trend is, like, they're ending a lot faster, and I think that's just so people can cycle through the series fully. Because, like, people who buy volume 1 are way more than people who will buy that last volume. Like, there's like a diminishing curve.
Yeah, it's
because everyone gets interested in the beginning, but, like, unless it's a banger, I don't think you're selling, like, there's no graph, correct me if I'm wrong, where you'll see the volume 1 and the last volume almost the same.
And there's, like, a huge drop-off, yeah.
Yeah, because, like, if it was ever the same, it's probably, like, 5 volumes or something like that. Like, I'd have to be very short for the first and the last to be the same. But the longer it is, that drop-off is just naturally going to happen. Especially if you're like, at volume 10, I kind of fell off. And it happens. Like, maybe you read something else, or you just weren't interested with the story. It just naturally is a progression of just, like, that. And then also, just like you said, you're watching, like, mad shows that are hour long. And we're not talking about like reading, consuming like just a book. Like you're watching TV, the books now have to compete with the TV, which have to compete with TikTok, which compete with all the other things that take up your time. And so with all of those things that are fighting for your time, that's why it goes back to me saying like you have to get to the point faster, you have to get it there faster, and you need to kind of make your story very succinct. Like those times I guess where it's like you can have like that wiggle room. Maybe when you get an anime, maybe you get like a few extra minutes to explore things. Like in Jujutsu Kaisen, like a lot of the fights, I swear there were like 2 seconds in the manga. Like
Yeah,
I don't remember.
so
Yeah,
like on Jujutsu Kaisen, let's go back to season one real quickly. Junpei, no backstory in the manga, almost no backstory. It's like here's the dude, there he is, done.
yeah,
And like that's something that I like from Mappa, because Mappa, they stay true to the source material, they don't deviate too much away from it. But I also feel like kind of in that conversation where like the story might be moving too fast, you gotta know, or like the animation studios, they can't go too far fast, because they do,
yeah.
they'll run out of shit so quickly. And that's what happened with Black Clover. Black Clover, they caught up, like they had just finished one arc, and the other arc was like just in the early stages. So they were like, we gotta stop the anime, because now we're gonna go somewhere that the story's not gonna be. And that's something that I can respect, unlike Naruto, Bleach, One Piece, and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. These are, especially JoJo's is older than One Piece,
Yeah.
like astronomically older, but we've had 8 beginnings, middles, and ends. We've had 8 different main characters, the entourage, and I think it's 5 or 6 different villains. And because like shenanigans and shit, I'm not going to spoil any of that if you haven't seen it. But it's
All right, Sage Squad. Those not a part of the Sage Squad, but you still seeing this message. It's important, all right? I know you get tired playing the game, especially on Unite. I always say get high off of potions, all right? Special item right there. Give you a little bit more life. Give you a little bit more energy, right? Bam, close combat into this W right here, all right? That's what I'm talking about. Get the W with W. That's what I'm talking about, okay? Use my code. It's going to pop up somewhere. Not sure where. But you're going to use that code, get 10% off your next order. The caffeine, all right? And it's not just that alone. It also comes with great vitamins on the inside. So if you do want to use this as pre-workout, because we know you like going to the gym, don't you sit here and lie, okay? Me as a Lucario main, I know we like to fight. That means we gotta stay ready. We gotta pump that iron, you know what I'm saying? Purchase WD, code SAGE EJ.
They're all a little bit different, and they all work coherently when you think this is this person's story beginning to end. You will never see this person again. And if you do see it, it's more like a cameo thing. Like they aren't the central focal point of the story. They're there to like add a little flavor, and that's it. And that's how each specific part is. And that's why I like JoJo's, because it's, I don't know how many chapters it is. Don't ask me how many chapters and volumes it is, but it's actually, I think it's almost like close to double the amount of One Piece. But because each part is its own thing. Yeah, it's on the same one timeline up to one point, and then we have like a branch timeline.
Yeah, because of what happens in part 7,
part 6, part
6.
Yeah,
because I know I watched a video on it. I haven't read it, but like part 6 is kind of crazy. I
feel like it's the weakest part. Just like it. So, what do you know about JoJo's?
I've watched parts 1 through 4.
Okay.
I haven't seen 5. I know some people have told me things about 5. I know how 6 ends, and I think the way 6 ends is kind of crazy.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I
just
don't know
like
anything
the story
about 7. 8, I don't know. 9, I know. Was it Jojolian is one of my favorite things, a heister. I love heists. So that's all I know.
So part 5 is Giovanna, which if you know the story, you know that Dio took over Jonathan's body.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Hmm.
So during the time Dio was walking the earth before he settled in Egypt, he met this random lady, banged her brains out, impregnated her, and dipped to Egypt.
Yeah.
So Giorno is not only his dad, his son, he's also Jonathan's son. So
Yeah.
his stand is completely like unique in terms of like it gives life. And after I was like in the middle of part 6, I then found out originally Giorno was supposed to be a woman, which is why the stand is creation of life. Hand chopped off,
Uh,
he can make you a new hand.
that makes a lot of sense in the character design too. It probably was
And
different,
his
and then it
editor
got
said, "Nah, don't do that. No one wants to see a woman." I'm like, "Oh, it would have made so much more sense if Giorno was a woman." All this, it
mm,
would have made so much more sense, but it didn't. That's okay. And then we get to part
mm,
6 where the story to me just felt weak. We are
mm,
following now Dio's lover. X
mm,
amount of years past part 4, right? Jotaro is a dad,
mm,
and the MC is his daughter. So he's
yeah.
like in his
Mm,
40s, 50s easily.
mm,
And the story is like attaining heaven.
mm,
And I was like, okay, yeah, I can follow this story. I like this story. But yeah, I felt like the premise was great for part 6. I just felt like the story overall kind of for me was like tapering off. It wasn't anything that crazy, that great. And I don't want to
mm,
jump into part 7 because I feel jaded by part 6. Like, I
mm.
feel like the story could have been so much better. It could have been a little bit shorter. But to me, I was like, I don't. It could have been more. It could have been like, you gave me these fire, except for part 1, you gave me these fire parts. I hate part 1.
Mhm.
Part 1 is so cringe.
But part one's like super duper short.
It's super
It's like,
short. It's
yeah,
palatable, but it's still cringe. Like, really cringe. But it was written in the 80s, so I will
yeah,
allow it.
yeah.
But and then you get to like part 6, which is like the most modern part out of everything, and it just felt flat.
Okay,
Like you go to
fair
drink a
enough.
soda and it's like, where's the carbonation? Where's that like taste? It just feels like brown water. It's not. I wasn't a fan of it. I loved
Gotcha.
how it ended because it felt fulfilling,
Mm-hmm.
but like somewhere in the middle, I was just like, I just want to
It
get out of the
lost you.
jail. I just want to get out the jail. I just want to finish the story. Skip,
Uh,
skip. I don't want to hear how you're trying to get out with this person's stand that you don't understand their power and their ability. Skip. I don't care. You're gonna get out of it. And well, I had watched what parts 1 through 5, and
hmm
I was waiting for part 6 to come out. Like I was literally as I was watching it,
hmm
part 6 was like announced for later that year. I was like, I'll wait because I know they're gonna drop it in 2 parts. Um,
Uh,
sorry,
so,
that's a
well,
tangent and a half. I
yeah.
apologize.
Before let's finish this tangent. Who's your favorite JoJo? You had to pick
Oh,
two.
oh, thank God I can pick 2. Um, it's a tough choice, so I'm gonna say my honorable mention, which is Josuke. Um,
Okay.
he's okay. He would be the best if Jotaro wasn't there and Giorno wasn't there.
Oh.
Jotaro is like the pivotal point in the story, like especially when you look at the transition of back in the day, right? It was big beefy men. I say that everyone knows exactly what I'm picturing. Like I'm
Yeah.
painting you the it's the fists of the North Star. That's part 1 and part 2. Part
Mm,
3 is the pivot for the aesthetically pleasing, right? You have the stand, so they have character designs. The characters have a more intricate design, and then you get into part 4 with Josuke. Josuke, they've gone from these big beefy men to more like average, high average build men. So I'm like, you know what?
mm.
I like that. I appreciate that. But Giorno's the best JoJo. I'm sorry. Like Giorno's like Golden Wind. I'm like Golden Wind. Oh, that sounds spicy. And then it's like Golden Wind Requiem, and then like it's my favorite part in part 5 is at the end, right? The entire battle, it's coming down to like just a few moments. Giorno stabs himself with not himself, but he stabs his stand with the arrow, and then the stand becomes sentient. And he's like, "Oh, my owner, my user." Yeah, he don't know what I can do, but I do. And you and me, like they're having a conversation, and Giorno's just like kind of locked out of it, and I'm like, whoa, what? That's kind of weird. That like this is the first like semi sentient Saiyan we've seen besides Silver Chariot Requiem, but he was just moving. Like he had a lot of distance, and what the purpose was, where he was going, I don't know. The theory is he was going to Jotaro to deliver the arrow. He was just gonna hone in on him or whatever. But, yeah, it's that moment where he's like, yeah, he don't know what I can do. You and me, only conversation you need. And with that, boom, I'm like, what? Who? Huh? And then you just see the dude wake up and die. Wake up and die. I'm like, what just happened here? And then like everyone like kind of just like wakes up in their normal body, and I was like, what is going on? And then you just see him. He's like, I've obtained my dream. I don't like how you were handed everything. There was no struggle. He's like, I want to be it, and then becomes it. And I'm like, there's no major struggle like all the other people. They lost like family, and then they attained their dream. You went out and you did it. You had very little struggle. You might have had like a challenge or a quest or two to do, but besides that, no real challenge.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw the question back at you. What are your favorite JoJo's?
Easy. Joseph and Josuke. Both of them. It's just I just love Joseph's personality.
Is it the hair?
Yeah, and then for Josuke, it's the hair, the design, just like his whole vibe. Like I vibe with the heavy. So those are my two favorites.
What'd you say about my hair? No, and that's like also a little like kind of tangent. I like how JoJo's, though a lot of people shit on it, the people that shit on it, I think you're homophobic, because of all the you can say that you don't like it because it's not your kind of cup of tea, and I can respect that. But if you like go out of your way to hate it, I think you're homophobic, mainly because a lot of the like memorable moments, like the memes and whatnot, are based off of artists, like painters, that happen to be gay. Mind you, this story has been going on since the late 80s. So we have like 40-ish years of memes that have been shown anew to the next generation from gay people. So like the Dio with his back, and you see the star. Yeah, that's that's referencing a gay painter.
Wow. I learned something new today. I did not know that. I know that some of the stands are named after musicians. That's all I knew.
They're musicians, or like it's one dude's playlist.
Yeah. That's the only thing I knew. But that's cool.
Yeah,
there's something new about manga every day.
Billie Jean, Red Hot Chili Pepper, Dua Lipa was in like a recent chapter for part 9. She was referenced. I was like, you like the Dua Lipita that took Trevor Noah from us? Okay, I see you.
And I think that's the nice thing about manga. It's like, why else I love it is because it's like it teaches you things. Like if a good manga researched it and was able to integrate into their manga well, you'll learn something about the world that you didn't know before. Like in some, even if it's small or tiny, be like, oh, they got this idea from that, or they got this idea from this, and something you have no clue about, and you'll be like, oh, well, that's really cool. Or maybe you'll pick up on it, like just from hearing something or seeing things that they do.
Yeah, definitely. You can clearly tell what like it is, especially like referencing JoJo's right now. You can tell what society was more looking forward to like paying attention to when you have like I think it's like Mr. Olympia or whatever it is, like the competition where all these like big muscular men, they like flex and shit. And at the time, that was at its height. Arnold was doing it. He had won some competitions prior to the start of JoJo's. And so it's like, okay, these, you can clearly tell, like, these are the major identifying keys for the story, right? It's like, hey, like, these are some big men. They just look good. I just want to draw them to show them to the world. And that's something that I like, that I can see. And, like, there's, every story has their references to what, like, you know, what you view, which is why, like, as I was reading it, I'll keep on referencing it. The emotional damage in the beginning, I was like, God damn, this hurt me. This is so. This could happen to anyone, and then I just left. I was like, I can't read this today. I gotta come back to it.
Too much.
You weren't expecting it, and when you don't expect something, it hits you harder, and when it makes sense, you feel it more. Like it's kind of weird to say it like that, but like, oh, I wasn't expecting this. Okay, no, it's actually a great start. Okay, yeah, let's get it. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
A tear fell down my eye. I was like, I gotta go. I can't sit here all day. But yeah, you can definitely see like what the reference is as time moves on. Like even all like my posters here, like obviously they're all different artists, a vast majority. So like you can clearly tell like there's a little bit more to the side, but there's like nothing much. So you can clearly tell that like each artist has their own specific view, right? Chun-Li lifting weights. Of course Chun-Li is going to be squatting. Why wouldn't she be squatting? It's almost natural why Chun-Li is squatting. But like you can some of my bigger posters you can see and it's easier. It's like but yeah, there is like the showcasing of like, hey, this is how they see it, how they view it, and that's why like, you know, I love picking up a new story. I love reading and diving in to see like, okay, what is your view on the world right now? How are you putting that into your story? Kind of going back into your stories and your shorter stories. Let's take a walk down memory lane with phase 1.
Oh, so now the phases are inverted. So the less the number, the higher the phase. So phase 3 is the lowest.
Yes.
And then phase 0 is the last. So Besiege should be in like phase 3.
I see phase 1 with Chrono Spiral, Truth, Grave, Fate, and 13 Catalyst. There's nothing in phase 2. There's no information there. Phase 3 is Note, Bessinger, and Infinity Love. Which you need to update that because there's like no text right by the way.
Oh, okay. I got updated. So much to do.
so much to do, so little time.
Yeah. So yeah, let's see. Phase 2, I'm still building out because I'm not exactly sure what I want to call phase 2 just yet. And when phase 3 is going to end. And so talking about phase 1 is like, you know, those kids who like, I have this story from high school. All 5 of those stories I made in high school. They're kind of like ready to go. The worlds are all fleshed out. It's like, I just don't want to touch them yet. Like, Chrono Spiral is about time. Truth has to deal with a world in which truth is a physical manifestation that you can learn about but also grasp, which it's a lot. Grave is about a guy who loses his girlfriend and basically makes a deal with the devil to get her back.
Okay, Supernatural, I see you.
Yeah. Fate is about a boy who is just destined to destroy the world. But the world wants to destroy him before that's possible. The 13th Catalyst talks about the Zodiacs and how there's a 13th one. And so the main character is at the plot of a whole conspiracy. So the idea of these stories, just to sum them up, is that they're basically are going to each have their own world, but also cross over into each other. And eventually crescendo into like an Avengers type thing. That's like the long and short of it, where they all meet up for one thing because all of the
these 5 specific stories.
Yes.
Okay.
But all of my stories are connected, but by like this much, most of them. These 5 are the most connected.
I like that.
Like they actually have to deal with each other. And interwoven, and like the way I've set it up is like, how do characters meet, when do they meet, and why? And so it all eventually will build up into something. And then there's phase 0, which is the most important one, which is like 2 stories that I have, but I can't talk about them really. You know about one of them, which is voodoo, but I want to explore that more once I'm ready.
Okay. Is it just you that does the comics, the manga and the artwork?
Yep, I'm everything.
You are him, James. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you guys are interested from what you've heard or you want to hear more about me, definitely please check out my Kickstarter. Right now, we have like literally 1 week. I think, is it 1 week and a day or something? It's like 8 days or something left in the Kickstarter. And we're like 66% of the way there. So it'd be great if you could check it out, drop some dollars at Kickstarter.com. I definitely have like some cool rewards. It's going to come out on Valentine's Day. Yeah, so I'd appreciate it. But yeah, regardless, it's gonna be great. There's some great prizes, T-shirts. I even have because there's this little motif inside of the in the book where the lovers all get hearts on their hands. So I'm gonna get like heart tattoos, and then you can also have that with someone else that you love.
Aww.
So, and then if you're like a true couple, then you get like the infinity heart, and so you're like that kind of like forever couple. So I thought it was like some cute things inside of the Kickstarter if you guys are interested. And then if you want to follow me, check out any of my stuff, you can check it out at Vandel Marchin. Check me out at vandelmarchin.com. All that good stuff. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. But I appreciate you guys. It was really fun. It was really nice
Appreciate
conversation.
It. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, I have one more question. Besides Jujutsu Kaisen, what else do you read or look at to help jog some lightning bolts?
So currently I'm reading Undead Unluck.
Really?
I love Undead Unluck. I don't think anybody talks about it. I think that shit is crazy. I feel like, especially where it is now in the manga, it's really crazy, but I enjoy it. That's one of my favorites. I don't like Mashal, but I like the anime. The anime, I think, makes Mashal better than the manga. Reading it.
Oh no, reading it has to be boring. I'm sorry, because dude's just hey, I need you to stop, and then the words are still flying around on the page. And then he's breaks the pen. He's I'm gonna need you to stop, and then they just put it together. I was oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, the anime I feel is a little bit more charming. The manga, I don't know. I still don't like any of the characters, but the anime makes me like them just a little bit more. Spy Family is goated. I think it's the most funniest anime manga I've ever read in my whole entire life. It's hilarious. It is too good. Dr. Stone is another one. I love Dr. Stone. That
Reading
one I think
or
is
watching it.
Both.
Okay.
Both. I think it's great. The artwork is. I only dream to be 1/8 of that. That's amazing. That I want to start Sakamoto Days. I haven't got a chance. I have 3 volumes.
The hell is
not
Sakamoto
even started.
Days? I feel
I oh my god, read Sakamoto Days. You'll like it. If you like Spy Family, you'll like Sakamoto Days. And Kaiju number 8. That I need to read too.
I have it. I have
is it
until
good?
volume 8. So it's really good, and it's kind of different for shonen. It's still kind of has the same thing, but the MC is a whole lot older than what we're used to for shonens. Dude's in his mid to late 20s, early 30s at most, and he's trying to get into the special forces, we'll call it, which is the special units that take down these kaijus. And you have kind of the medium-sized ones, and then you get the colossal and the titan-sized ones, basically. And he's about to go for his final attempt, because after a certain age you can't try anymore, because then you'll be too old to be doing what most of the young recruits are. And then a kaiju that has been badly damaged, almost to death, finds him, merges with him, and then he becomes a badass. But he where we are in the story, I think it's volume 6 or 7, you find out the more he transforms, the less likelihood he has of coming back as a human, because he doesn't have control over it. So and it's rewriting his DNA every time that he does it. So at one point he'll just be a kaiju. So it's like, hey, like I won't like, and it's everyone's like, we want you to be strong without it. So when you use it, you're a unit.
Mm-hmm.
So and it's very interesting. Like a lot of the side characters. This is something that I enjoy very recently, which is something that I enjoyed from your story as well, which I've noticed like post Naruto, One Piece, and Bleach. The side characters have their own personalities. They have their own story and they have their own limelight. Where like back in the day, they don't really. It's 5 minutes. That's it. Where nowadays it's like, no, you're a little bit more in depth. You know who this person is, who their lineage is. You know every nook and cranny about them because they are important and they are essential to the story. Which is one thing I hate about JJK because you're given that vital information, and then you take Daddy away from me multiple times, and I'm honestly just sick of it at this point. Like when Nanami got murked, so season 1 came out. I watched it as it was coming out in the. I hate it when my webcam does this. I saw it in the sub. I don't know why my hand does that. So I saw it in the sub. Then when it came out in the dub, I loved it in the dub more than I did in the sub. And then shortly afterwards, I started getting the manga for it, and that was that and a jazz manga called Blue Giant were like the first 2 things I started buying for my collection. Blue Giant is beautiful. You want to cry a little bit? Buy Blue Giant, but it's like in 3 separate parts.
The movie came out for that.
Yeah, but they haven't dubbed it yet. It's still to this day, a year and some change later, they still haven't dubbed it, or it's not on any streaming platform. And like I looked it up as of like November, so I haven't checked recently. But last time I checked, they haven't dubbed it. It's not on any streaming platform. You can't even buy it.
You might have to become a pirate, sir.
I was gonna say be like Luffy, but it's that's the only way at that point. But where was I going with this? Oh yeah, so you get all these characters, right? And then you just take him away, and I feel like that's a disservice. Like you have Aoi Todo, probably the best character with like the least amount of screen time, and you're telling me he's gone, like he just goes into hiding? That doesn't make sense, because of immediately it's literally because of what immediately happens in the aftermath of Shibuya going into the next arc, where they're like, hey, like we're capping off Shibuya and we're telling you what the next part is, which is like the Culling Games. And he does idol transfiguration. Geto does idol transfiguration on the entire nation. So whether you had curse, like you were able to use curse energy before, it doesn't matter because you do now.
Yeah.
So that should have revived dude's technique. And I'm like, all right, give him a nub. Give him like, do what you did with Joseph Joestar and give him like a metal hand that he can relatively control, or he can just fold it and then he got 2 fists and that's all he needs. Oh, he wants to clap. He claps his arm. He clapped his butt cheeks earlier, and you tell me he can't just clap his hand. You can't clap. It's. I was upset about it. Very upset about it.
Like, to be that artist person, it's like, I think the way you feel about it is correct, because that's how they want you to feel. They want you to feel that sadness because.
But why you gotta take him away from me?
Yeah, and I think that's it. That right there, that is like hitting the nail on the head. They get you invested in the characters, and then they kill them, because at the core of it all, it's just about death. And then like that's what Yuji also started with. Like he wanted to die, like he wanted to go out the way he wanted to go out. And I think everybody else losing everyone before that in this world is a part of that whole cycle, and why the curses get to be who they are in the first place. Because people's lives get cut short because of all of these other negative emotions, and those negative emotions are pulled in because you lost someone that you cared about so much.
When Nami died, it hurt though. Like it really hurt, because the manga didn't show that. It didn't show him talking to like the kid that he like was his like best friend or whatever, like his classmate or whatever. It didn't show that. So he's having this conversation with himself, saying, "I can't say that to him. That's a curse." Like, as the adult, I know better. I can't say that. And then he just turns and says, "You got this." And then dies. I'm like...
I know. It hurts.
It hurts so
It
much,
hurts.
but
It's a lot.
it is
But
so much.
I think the author's doing a good job. Got everybody goddamn invested. Hating on him though.
I just want the story to end. There's
Ending soon.
it's
From
yeah,
what I heard, he said he's gonna end it this year.
Yeah, so he should have ended
We'll see,
last
though.
year. Yeah, we'll see. It'll probably won't end for like a year or two, but that's like
Especially
a lot
where
of,
they're at now, which is crazy. I've been seeing things that we should not talk about in detail. I just know things that I'm not supposed to know about, and I know Judge Man becomes very important, and that's all I'm gonna say. And
he has the
Sukuna
most
not beating these
broken
allegations.
technique.
What happened?
So I knew Judge Man was going to be important because he gave me very much like Yuta Okotsu vibes. In the
That's
main
interesting.
fact that like within such a short amount of time, so Yuta Okotsu within such a short amount of time was able to use reverse curse technique, which is such a rare technique, right? Like it's domains, maximum techniques, and RCT. Those are like such rarities that like there's only one person besides Yuta that can do it on other people. When you really like her spirits can do it on themselves because it's just curse energy to them, like it's second nature. But for normal people, it's different because we have to think about it. Where there's a nurse that she knows about it, Yuta that can do it on other people. He learned that all within 6 months. Like he's not a great hand to hand combat person, but like he can hold his own against Geto using Playful Cloud. And I'm like, yo, that's wild. It's definitely we're gonna do like another episode in the future where you and I are just like going in on about Jujutsu Kaisen. Probably when it ends, be like, all right. So we're here to talk about the news, like whatever new thing has been done, and then news because then we go on into like
Yeah.
I love having like these kinds of conversations as well with like indie artists as well because it's obviously one, it's different, we're different walks of life, but it's like, you know, the common interest of the mangas, the stories, the path, like that's the shit I enjoy. And it's like, okay, how are you viewing the world? Because the world is your oyster and it is your JoJo's reference, but it's how are you putting what you know and what you see and how you feel into a story, and it's how I interact with it and how I enjoy it. Like one thing I don't see that often because it's more on the indie side than on the like no popular scale, which is like, you know, POC artists doing good work, because anyone can make something, but it's your willingness to say, hey, I'm starting here, this is where I'm starting, I don't want to be perfect, I just want to do what I can and perfect it over time, which is like I respect that, because like when we started the podcast, and I'm still learning to this day, but we started audio only, and I had to learn how to edit, and it took me forever because I was like, I don't understand any of this, I don't have anyone to hold my hand. And yeah, I've seen like clips, but it's like putting my knowledge to use. Now it's like, okay, cool, the only time something's going to take forever is if it's a 3-hour recording, because it's a lot of things I have to sift through. But when it's like 2 hours or less, that's easy money for me. And it's just the growth. It's seeing your style, your uniqueness into the story. That's something that I one appreciate and I do enjoy. But briefly before we go, yes, you can buy your things online.
Yes.
And you can buy digital copies. Are we gonna see a digital copy of Infinity Love? Is there a digital copy?
Most definitely, it'll be going up on February 14th.
Beautiful.
Or you can get it in the Kickstarter too. The Kickstarter has digital backings as well.
Beautiful. So with that being said, I'm gonna go because I have to clean up my room and then move some furniture, because they're like, you're a big guy, you lift weights at the gym. I'm like, I lift things up and put them down. I don't lift for 45 minutes.
I feel that.
But I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. And until next time. Peace.
Yeah, until next time, man. Peace.